Hello everyone, Dr. McIntosh here with College and Career Readiness 101. This week we're going to be talking about SQ3R. Well, I'll get to that acronym in a moment. What I want to share specifically is this. It's important that you are engaging in some best practices when you approach your reading, whether it is a chapter, whether it is a journal article, some type of data, analyses, all of that. Whether you're in college, high school, even in the working world, various different training manuals, any type of information that you're needing to gather and comprehend, it's some best practices that you really want to engage upon. And so SQ3R is an acronym that will encompass some additional best practices that will help you to enhance your general comprehension. Getting started with the first letter is survey, S. When we talk about surveying, it's not your typical do you like this or on a Likert scale with agree, most likely to agree, or disagree or strongly disagree. It's not that. When you survey, it's kind of like a land surveyor, if you will, going about taking an overall glance at the subject matter at hand. If that is a full entire book, you're looking at the title, the inside cover, reading the foreword, the introduction, looking at the table of contents, taking a very general preview of everything that you are assigned to read. If it is specifically a chapter or a subset of a larger whole in a reading, a short story, etc., look at the overall layout. Thinking about just a quick view of the first sentence, that main idea sentence, so you can kind of formulate before you do a deep dive reading line by line, word for word, you will have a general understanding about the layout, perhaps author's purpose kind of early on how they lay out and map out the actual text and all of that. So that encompasses that survey, and you do that in a very short, succinct manner. When you move into the next letter, you're thinking about Q for question. Any questions that come to mind. In previous modules in the course, you've talked about annotation and being able to jot notes, etc., in the margin, off to the side, or in your text actually. And so whether you're renting a book, whether you bought a book, regardless, those annotations can be very important to enhance your general engagement once you're in a class and a live lecture, whether you're in a meeting in the working world, whatever it might be. So when you think about questions, anything that comes to mind, you may be able to answer those questions in the text. But however, if not, then when you're having a formal session or a follow-up with others, you may be able to deep dive and have some engaging conversation in regards to that. So any questions coming to mind, that will be what Q represents. Now when we dive into the 3 R's, the first R being read. That's going to be the opportunity for you to do that close read, line by line, not skimming, not speed reading. It's not a race. At the end of the day, you don't want to waste time by having or redundancy to go back and having to reread and reread because you've kind of went really fast, really not engaged. You want to make sure you're free of distractions and you're reading line by line, word for word. That's going to save time, and at the end of it, that initial investment is going to help your general comprehension and understanding. When you move into that next letter R, you're thinking about recite. And so as we talked about, whether it's the focused reading or the immediate recall specifically, where you're recalling what you've just read, this is a great opportunity after perhaps every paragraph, every page in a subset or a text that you've been assigned to read. You're thinking to yourself, okay, I should be able to have a quick summary, a sentence or two about what I've just read. If you cannot do that, that's the time to stop and go back to the last component that you really remembered. If you're reading and you don't have any idea what you're doing, the likelihood of you being able to be engaged and move forward is going to be reduced significantly. So with that in mind, that recite piece, you'll begin as you're kind of diving into utilizing this strategy, you'll work your way up and your momentum, and then that'll perhaps be able to help you to strengthen, and perhaps it could start off as 1 to 2 pages and then move to where you can get through half the chapter, but you're able to have that general understanding and idea about what you're reading. Then the final letter is R for review. It's a great opportunity after you've completed a reading to really just make sure that you have that general understanding. So recite and review kind of go hand in hand because you're building that in an ongoing manner. And so when you come to the end of a reading, you're really stopping and saying, okay, I've come to the end. Do I have a general understanding? Any key terms, ideas, main ideas from the author, the theme, any morals, or anything that I want to pull out? Jotting those notes down and being prepared for what part 2 is in any manner, whether it is a meeting, whether it is a one-to-one meeting, whether it is a class session, whatever that might be. And so that is the acronym for SQ3R. Have a great week, and we'll be in touch soon.